What if I told you that cholesterol has been framed for a crime it didn't commit? For decades, you've been told a simple story. High cholesterol clogs your arteries, causes heart attacks, and the solution is to lower the number, no matter what. So you cut the eggs, you fear butter, you celebrate when your LDL drops, and you assume you're safe. But here's the uncomfortable question no one asks. If cholesterol is the true cause of heart disease, why do so many people with normal cholesterol still suffer heart attacks? And why do some people with high cholesterol live long, healthy lives? What if cholesterol isn't the spark that starts the fire, but the bandage your body sends to repair damage already happening inside your arteries? The real danger isn't the number on your lab report. It's the silent, chronic inflammation slowly injuring your artery walls while you focus on the wrong target. In this video, I'm going to dismantle one of the most dominant medical beliefs of the last 50 years and show you what actually drives heart disease at its root. You may never look at your cholesterol test the same way again. Now let's confront the belief that has dominated cardiology for decades. Cholesterol builds up in your arteries, forms plaque, blocks blood flow, and causes heart attacks. Lower cholesterol, and you lower risk. Simple, clean, convincing. But biology is rarely that simple. Here's what most people are never told. Cholesterol does not randomly stick to healthy artery walls. It doesn't just float around looking for trouble. Your arteries are not greasy pipes that get clogged by fatty food. That image is powerful, but it's misleading. The real question isn't, how do we lower cholesterol? The real question is, why would cholesterol accumulate in the first place? When you look at the research more closely, a different picture emerges. Atherosclerosis, the process that leads to heart attacks, begins with damage to the inner lining of the artery, called the endothelium. This delicate lining can be injured by high blood sugar, smoking, insulin resistance, chronic stress, oxidized particles, and persistent inflammation. That injury is step one. Once the arterial wall is damaged, your body responds the way it always does to injury. It sends repair materials. And one of those materials is cholesterol. Cholesterol is essential for building cell membranes and producing hormones. It is part of the repair crew. But here's where things spiral out of control. If the injury keeps happening, day after day, year after year, the repair process never finishes. Cholesterol particles become trapped at the site of inflammation. Immune cells rush in, foam cells form, plaque develops, not because cholesterol is evil, but because the underlying damage never stops. So when we prescribe a medication that lowers cholesterol, what are we doing? In some cases, we reduce one component of the plaque building process. But if we don't address chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, poor metabolic health, or oxidative stress, we haven't solved the root cause. We've modified a marker. This is the critical shift in thinking. Heart disease is not primarily a cholesterol problem. It is an inflammatory and metabolic problem. That explains something cholesterol theory alone cannot. Why people with normal LDL can still suffer heart attacks. And why some individuals with elevated cholesterol live long lives without cardiovascular events. Risk is not determined by one number. It's determined by the biological environment inside your arteries. The tragedy is this. For years, the public conversation has focused on chasing cholesterol targets instead of restoring arterial health. We've been treating the smoke while ignoring the fire. And if you don't understand the fire, you can't truly prevent the damage. Let me walk you through what's actually happening inside your body, and I promise to keep this simple. Imagine your arteries as smooth, flexible highways. The inner lining, the endothelium, is like a Teflon coating. When it's healthy, blood flows effortlessly. Nothing sticks. Everything moves smoothly. Now here's the key. That lining is extremely sensitive. Every time your blood sugar spikes dramatically, every time insulin levels stay elevated for hours, every time you experience chronic stress, smoke exposure, or oxidative damage, that delicate lining takes a hit. Not a dramatic rupture, just tiny microscopic injuries. You don't feel this happening, but your body notices. When the endothelium is damaged, it becomes more permeable, slightly sticky. LDL particles, which normally circulate harmlessly, can slip beneath the surface of the artery wall. On their own, LDL particles are not the villain. The problem begins when they become oxidized. Oxidation simply means chemical damage. Think of how metal rusts when exposed to oxygen and stress. Oxidized LDL is different from normal LDL. It signals danger. Your immune system reacts immediately. White blood cells, especially macrophages, rush to the scene. They try to eat the oxidized LDL particles. But when there's too much oxidative stress and continuous damage, these immune cells become overloaded. They turn into what we call foam cells, fat-filled immune cells trapped in the artery wall. Now we have the early fatty streak of atherosclerosis. Here's the critical part. This entire process is driven by chronic inflammation and metabolic dysfunction, not by cholesterol acting alone. If blood sugar remains unstable, if insulin levels stay chronically elevated, if inflammatory signals never turn off, then the cycle continues. More damage, more oxidation, more immune response, more plaque. Over time, that plaque develops a fibrous cap, like a scab forming over a wound. And just like a scab, it can remain stable for years, or it can rupture. When a plaque ruptures, your body interprets it as a bleeding injury. It forms a clot. That clot can suddenly block blood flow in a coronary artery. That's the heart attack. Not a slow clogging like grease in a pipe, but a sudden inflammatory event triggered by plaque instability. Now think about what this means. Lowering cholesterol may reduce the amount of material available in the system. But if inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance remain high, the arterial wall is still under assault. The deeper driver is metabolic health. Healthy endothelium produces nitric oxide, a molecule that keeps arteries relaxed and flexible. But insulin resistance and chronic inflammation reduce nitric oxide production. Arteries stiffen, blood pressure rises, damage increases. It becomes a vicious cycle. So cholesterol is involved, yes, but it's participating in a much bigger biological story. The real battlefield is inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic imbalance. Once you understand that, you stop asking, how do I lower my cholesterol? And you start asking, how do I calm inflammation and repair my arteries? That's where real prevention begins. Now we move from theory to action. If heart disease is driven primarily by inflammation, oxidative stress, and metabolic dysfunction, then your strategy must target those roots, not just a lab number. Here's exactly what I recommend. Number 1, stabilize your blood sugar. Nothing damages the endothelium faster than repeated blood sugar spikes. This means reducing refined carbohydrates, sugary drinks, ultra-processed snacks, and constant grazing throughout the day. Focus on whole foods, quality protein, vegetables, healthy fats, and fiber-rich carbohydrates in reasonable portions. When blood sugar stays stable, insulin levels calm down. When insulin calms down, inflammation decreases. Number 2, prioritize anti-inflammatory nutrition. Increase omega-3 rich foods like fatty fish. Add extra virgin olive oil. Eat colorful vegetables and berries rich in polyphenols. Reduce industrial seed oils and highly processed foods that promote oxidative stress. Food is either turning down inflammation or fueling it. Choose wisely. Number 3, Improve insulin sensitivity through movement. Exercise is not just about burning calories. It's one of the most powerful ways to improve endothelial function and increase nitric oxide production. Strength training 2 to 3 times per week, combined with regular walking, can dramatically improve metabolic health. You don't need extreme workouts. You need consistency. Number 4, reduce chronic stress. Persistent stress elevates cortisol, raises blood sugar, increases blood pressure, and accelerates inflammation. Deep sleep, breath work, sunlight exposure, and deliberate recovery are not luxuries. They are cardiovascular medicine. Number 5, stop smoking and minimize toxin exposure. Smoking directly injures the endothelium and accelerates LDL oxidation. If there is one non-negotiable intervention for heart health, it is eliminating tobacco exposure. Number 6, monitor the right markers. Instead of obsessing only over total cholesterol, look deeper. Evaluate markers of inflammation, such as hsCRP. Assess triglyceride to HDL ratio as a reflection of insulin resistance. Consider advanced lipid testing if appropriate. Context matters more than a single LDL number. Now, let me be clear. Medications like statins can have a role for certain high-risk individuals. This is not about rejecting modern medicine. It's about understanding that medication without metabolic correction is incomplete. True prevention is not about chasing numbers. It's about restoring the biological environment inside your arteries so that damage stops happening in the first place. When inflammation calms, insulin sensitivity improves, oxidative stress decreases, and endothelial function is restored, cholesterol becomes far less dangerous. That's how you address the root. Now, if inflammation and metabolic dysfunction are the real drivers behind heart disease, there's another silent factor you absolutely cannot ignore: insulin resistance. It often develops years before any cholesterol number changes, and it quietly sets the stage for arterial damage. And if you haven't watched my video about insulin resistance and how it silently destroys your metabolism, I've placed that video right here. Go check it out. Bạn có muốn tôi rà soát toàn bộ kịch bản một lần cuối để đảm bảo tổng số từ nằm trong khoảng 1.600 đến 1.900 và tối ưu lại độ trôi chảy không?